Hey, loves. Welcome to tonight's story time, a space to slow down, breathe, and drift into another world. I'm Dee, and I'll be reading you a story to help you unwind and let your imagination flow. So get cozy, grab a blanket, put on a headset or pair of earbuds, and let's begin. Tonight's story will be a continuation of a book I am writing myself. If you like the story, please let me know in the comments. Before we begin, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and adjust the notification bell so you never miss when I post. The title of tonight's story is Dragons of Moonlight and Time. Take it from here, Clyde.
Dragons of Moonlight and Time. Chapter 3. The Royal Ceremony. The sun had barely touched the horizon when Garvit Cartier adjusted the ceremonial robes of the Cartier Empire. Today's ceremony symbolized more than tradition. It was a display of discipline, honor, and the expectations of his father, Emperor Cartier. More than that, it was historic. The visiting Varelian king had come to celebrate their alliance and to renew the bond between the two great kingdoms. Alessia stood near the edge of the crowd, her long coiled curls catching the golden light, green eyes fixed on him with unwavering warmth. Inside the grand hall, the celebration unfolded with splendor. Crystal chandeliers bathed the marble floors in golden light, while nobles in silk and velvet gowns mingled with Varelian emissaries dressed in their kingdom's deep cerulean and silver. Servers weaved gracefully through the crowd with trays of jeweled goblets filled with wine, spiced mead, and champagne. The scent of roasted meats and honeyed pastries clung to the air, mingling with the soft harmonies of string instruments that swelled above the chatter. For Garvit, this was more than festivity. It was duty. As Prince of Cartier, his presence was both expected and scrutinized. He moved from circle to circle, exchanging polite greetings with dukes, bowing lightly to Varelian ambassadors, and offering words of welcome that echoed his father's tone. To most, he looked every bit the young heir, stepping gracefully into his future. But Kael's shadow was never far. Every small action was deliberate. A whispered tip here, a nudge there, designed to make Garvit falter. "Careful, Your Highness," Kael murmured as Garvit lifted a goblet from a passing tray. "One drop on that robe, and Cartier's finest silk will wear a stain all night." A few nearby nobles stifled chuckles. Garvit smiled faintly, pretending not to notice. Later, when Garvit offered his arm in polite courtesy to a Varelian noblewoman, Kael leaned closer with a sly grin. "Mind your bow. Too low, and they'll say Cartier bends too eagerly." The noblewoman's brows lifted in surprise. Garvit forced a laugh, smoothing the moment over with practiced charm, but inside his jaw tightened. Each jab was subtle, measured, sharp enough to stir whispers, but never enough to outright expose Kael's intent. Garvit ignored them, though he felt the noose of embarrassment tightening with every passing moment. Then came the call for the ceremony's centerpiece. The Varelian king moved toward the dais, where the renewal of alliance would be symbolized. Servants carried forward a tray of medallions, crafted with both kingdoms' emblems, meant to be displayed as tokens of unity. Garvit stepped toward the stage. The crowd hushed, their attention drawn to the prince. This was the moment meant to honor Cartier's legacy, to show the heir's dignity before his people and their allies. But Kael's final whisper slipped like a dagger, just as Garvit neared the steps. "Careful, Garvit. Wouldn't want to trip in front of everyone." Garvit ignored him, holding his chin high. But as the ceremonial banner brushed against his shoulder, the tray shifted in his grip, and the medallions clattered across the stone floor with a metallic crash. Gasps filled the chamber. Murmurs spread like wildfire. What was meant to be a sacred symbol of renewal now lay scattered in chaos. For a heartbeat, Panic surged. Instinctively, the black dragon mark beneath his tunic flared, sending a faint shimmer of silver light across his skin. One medallion paused mid-roll, hovering just enough for Garvit to scoop it smoothly back onto the tray. To the crowd, it looked like perfect reflexes. To Garvit, it was the whisper of his magic keeping disaster at bay. He forced a chuckle, bowing slightly to the crowd. Well, that's one way to make an entrance. Kael's lips curved into a smirk. A memorable entrance indeed, he said, just loud enough for others to hear. And from the dais, Emperor Cartier's voice cut like a blade. Garvit, stand properly. Represent the Cartier Empire with the discipline I expect. The Varelian king's gaze narrowed, weighing father, son, and empire alike. The alliance meant to be strengthened now hung in uneasy silence. That evening, in the quiet of Cartier Palace, the emperor summoned Garvit to his study. The room weighed heavy with authority, every relic a reminder of legacy and expectation. Garvit, his father began, voice sharp and unwavering. Today was not simply a ceremony. It was a renewal of the alliance between Cartier and Virelia, one of the most important bonds this empire holds. The Varelian king came to honor our strength, our unity, and our discipline. And what did you show him? Clumsiness, foolishness, weakness. You embarrassed me. You embarrassed your people, and you humiliated this kingdom before another sovereign. Garvit swallowed. Father, Do not speak, the emperor cut him off. You think charm will cover failure, that a laugh will erase dishonor. No, a prince must understand that every gesture, every word, every step carries the weight of nations. And tonight, instead of securing the trust of a king, you made him question the future of our throne. The emperor's gaze sharpened. In addition, his voice deepened. You bear the black dragon mark, an emblem of our lineage, a symbol of power, honor, and responsibility. It is not merely ink upon skin, it is the legacy of every Cartier who came before you. To falter in public, to stumble before allies, is to dishonor not only yourself, but the mark you bear and the ancestors who entrusted it to you. At his father's words, Garvit's hand brushed the mark beneath his tunic. The memory of the medallion hovering replayed in his mind, a reminder that the magic was real, and it had answered him when he needed it most. Garvit lowered his gaze, but the emperor pressed on. In 2 years' time, you will be coronated as emperor. 2 years, Garvit. And yet you stand before me as a boy who cannot carry a tray without turning it into a spectacle. That ends now. You will not inherit this throne untested. You will not lead unprepared. The emperor's tone hardened, final. In 2 days, you will join the royal guard. For 2 years, you will serve, train, and suffer beside soldiers who bleed for this kingdom. You will learn the meaning of loyalty, discipline, and strength. And when you emerge, it will be the day of your coronation. You will walk from the guard into the throne room, forged into a man worthy to lead. Or you will be broken in the attempt. Do I make myself clear? Yes, father, Garvit murmured, humbled, though inside he bristled. He did not agree, but he could not defy the emperor's decree. He turned and left the study, the weight of duty heavy on his shoulders. Perhaps this trial would shape him, teach him balance, even prepare him for the burdens of leadership. But resentment simmered beneath the surface. In the shadows beyond the door, Kael smirked. Distance, duty, distraction. Soon Garvit's world would shift entirely. And Alessia, she would soon be within his reach. Farewell to Alessia. The following morning, Garvit could not focus on the preparations for departure. Thoughts of Alessia consumed him. He hurried to her home, heart heavy with the news he had yet to deliver. Alessia's face lit up when she saw him, her green eyes sparkling. she ran into his arms. But as their embrace lingered, she noticed the tension, the unspoken weight in his expression. "What's wrong?" she asked softly. Garvit swallowed hard, tears pricking at his eyes. "Father has decided. I must join the royal guard. For 2 years I will be gone, and after that, I will be crowned emperor of the Cartier kingdom." Her hands gripped his, eyes glistening. "2 years," she whispered. We can't let that happen without spending time together." Garvit's throat tightened and the first tears fell. Alessia mirrored his sorrow, and together they held each other close. "Then we will spend the day together," she suggested. "Tomorrow, you leave, yes?" "Yes," Garvit admitted. 2 years of training, and then I take the throne. But until then, I don't know how I'll bear being apart from you." Alessia pressed her forehead to his. "Then we will make every moment count today, every laugh, every story, every shared glance. We'll carry it with us." They walked through the bustling market, greeting merchants and neighbors. They laughed over farm animals, sampled fruits, and shared stories, creating a bubble of joy in a world preparing to separate them. As night fell, they ventured into the clearing in the forest, the same place Diani would one day know. Beneath the moonlight, they made love, a tender and desperate connection before the inevitable separation. At dawn, they returned quietly to their homes. Before parting, they embraced again, sharing a soft, lingering kiss. "We will never forget each other," Alessia whispered, "and we will write, even if it's forbidden." Garvit nodded, pressing a hand to her cheek. The black dragon mark pulsed faintly beneath his tunic, as if echoing his vow. "I promise, no matter what happens, our hearts remain ours." Diani's point of view. Diani's eyes followed her parents as they slipped into the familiar forest clearing. "Oh, cool. That's my spot too," she thought, bouncing slightly with excitement. But her curiosity quickly melted into shock as she saw them getting a little too close. Her jaw dropped. "Oh, no, no, no," she yelped, flinging her hands over her face. "Wait, this is my spot. I come here thinking it's all peaceful and magical, and now, you've ruined it." She peeked through her fingers, instantly regretting it. Her parents were making out. Blush on her cheeks spread like wildfire. "Seriously, this was supposed to be my special place." She stomped a tiny foot, muttering, "Okay, fine. I guess it was their spot first. But still, in the future, this is mine." Lyra stepped forward, resting a calming hand on Diani's shoulder. "It's all part of the path, little one," she said gently, her cobalt eyes twinkling with knowing. "This is how you came to be. How else did you think you were born?" Diani groaned, half horrified, half laughing. "Ugh, I didn't need the reminder." Crescent gave a playful snort, nudging her as if to say, "See, everything has its place." Diani sighed, lowering her hands but still flustered. "Okay, fine, I get it. But seriously, my spot." Lyra's smile deepened, carrying both amusement and wisdom. "In time, you'll understand. Every place holds its history, Diani. Tonight, you've glimpsed just one of its many stories." The gates of discipline. The morning sun rose pale and muted over Cartier Palace, casting long shadows across the courtyard. Garvit tightened the straps of his ceremonial tunic, the polished buttons reflecting the faint light. Every step toward the Royal Guard Academy felt like a step away from warmth, home, and Alessia, whose green eyes mesmerized him from the day before. He touched the black dragon mark on his left side beneath his tunic, a reminder that every move, every choice, carried the weight of his lineage. At the gates of the academy, towering stone walls loomed overhead. Watchful sentries, polished in brass, stood at attention, their eyes like hawks. A banner bearing the crest of the Empire fluttered in the stiff breeze. Garvit swallowed. This isn't home anymore. This is something else. Prince Garvit Cartier, a smooth, familiar voice called. He turned to see Gale leaning casually against the gatepost, broad-shouldered, 35, and wearing the insignia of a second lieutenant. His eyes were like smoldering coals. Looks like the Academy finally got their little prince. Welcome. Gale was Kael's older brother, though few would notice the family resemblance beneath his polished uniform and stern demeanor. Garvit nodded cautiously. Gale, thank you for meeting me. Gale's smile was faint, almost unreadable. Don't mention it, he said, slipping a small forbidden weapon into Garvit's pocket under the guise of a handshake. Garvit didn't notice, too focused on the enormity of the gates and the tense air of the Academy. Nothing to worry about, Gale said smoothly. We'll get you settled in. Just follow my lead. Gale led Garvit down the stone corridor toward the barracks. The room smelled faintly of polished wood and disciplined order. Rows of cots were lined neatly, each with a uniform folded precisely at the foot. Here's your squad, Gale said, gesturing toward a group of cadets stretching and prepping for the day. These are your bunkmates. You'll train, eat, and sleep alongside them. Don't get comfortable. You'll all be pushed to the edge before you can even blink. Garvit nodded cautiously, glancing at each cadet. They studied him with curiosity, some with barely disguised skepticism. 5 minutes, Gale said, clapping him on the shoulder. That's all the time you've got before inspection. Follow my lead, stay sharp, and don't embarrass yourself. Before Garvit could respond, the heavy doors of the barracks banged open. A tall figure in the crisp uniform of a senior lieutenant strode in, eyes scanning the room like a hawk. Behind him, 2 more second lieutenants flanked the doorway, their posture rigid and commanding. Cadets, the senior called, voice cutting through the chatter. Line up, inspection in 5 minutes, all gear accounted for and ready. The room erupted into motion. Beds were straightened, belts tightened, and boots polished to a gleaming shine. Move, 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 another lieutenant barked as cadets hustled to form precise rows. Gale leaned toward Garvit. See, no special treatment here. You're just one of them now. Stay focused. Keep your formation tight. Garvit swallowed, trying to steady his breath. This is really happening. The inspection was merciless. Guards and senior cadets moved with precise efficiency, rifling through bags, pockets, and belts. Before beginning, the senior lieutenant strode down the rows of cadets, his voice sharp and unyielding. Listen carefully, he barked. Every item you carry will be inspected. Unauthorized weapons, contraband, or any object not issued by the Academy is strictly forbidden. Any attempt to hide or retain forbidden items will result in immediate punishment. This is not a negotiation. Do I make myself clear? Yes, sir, the cadets chorused, forming perfect lines of attention. Good, the lieutenant continued. Uniforms must be flawless, boots polished, belts tight, insignias correctly worn. Your quarters will be examined at the same time. Every movement, every detail is judged. Precision is expected. Excellence is required. Do not embarrass yourselves or your families. With that, the inspection began. Hands moved quickly through cots, bags, and personal belongings. Garvit's stomach churned as Gale's small addition brushed against an inspector's hand. What's this? A tall cadet muttered, holding up the small weapon. Gasps echoed around the courtyard. Garvit froze. For a fleeting second, the black dragon mark pulsed hot against his skin. The weapon rattled faintly, trying to tug itself free of the inspector's grip. Garvit forced the magic down, panic flashing in his eyes. It's not mine, he protested, voice breaking. I don't even know how it got in my pocket. It must belong to someone else. The inspector's sharp eyes narrowed. Not yours. A convenient excuse, Prince. Regardless, possession is responsibility. You will answer for this. Gale's faint smirk appeared beside him. We've heard that story before, he said under his breath, almost teasing, almost warning. You'll learn quickly, Gale added smoothly. Rules are rules, even for a prince. Over the next hours, Garvit experienced the Academy's brutal rhythm. Dawn drills left his muscles aching before the sun had even risen. Commands barked in a harsh cadence. Each misstep was noted, every hesitation punished. On the obstacle course, his foot caught a stone, and he nearly fell. The black dragon mark flared again, a quick pulse that shifted the ground just enough to steady his step. No one noticed. To the cadets, it looked like luck. To Garvit, it felt like something alive watching over him. In the sparring hall, a cadet hurled a practice blade at him. Garvit raised his arm, and a translucent shimmer flickered across his forearm. The blade clattered harmlessly aside. Gasps rippled through the line of recruits. Cartier, the lieutenant barked. Block properly. No sloppy movements. Garvit lowered his arm quickly, cheeks hot, grateful no one realized what had truly happened. During a short rest, Garvit whispered to himself, staring at the stone courtyards. Home feels so far away, and yet I have to survive this. I will survive this. That night in the barracks, he lay awake, fingertips brushing the black dragon mark. It pulsed faintly beneath his tunic, warm, alive. His father's words echoed. It is not merely ink upon skin. It is the legacy of every Cartier who came before you. Garvit whispered into the dark. If this is my legacy, then teach me. Show me how to wield it without losing myself. The mark glowed faintly in reply, a silent promise. Outside, the Academy's walls were quiet for now, but Garvit knew the trials ahead would push him to the edge, testing loyalty, strength, and the very limits of the prince's soul.
Thank you for listening, loves. Please remember, this story is narrated and produced exclusively by Cozy Reads by Dee. We ask that you enjoy it here and kindly respect the creative work by not copying or reposting it elsewhere. Thank you, and until next time, sweet dreams and stay safe.